Hi, this is Scotty Elcon here with the team behind Blah Airways, the team Illick,
David Shafei.
And Michael Illick.
who make Illick.
Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful.
It has my whole last name in it. It's really a pretty good deal.
I mean, we wanted the shill part, and I was willing to.
Yeah, you compromised a bit on this. Was that always in the friendship, compromising for?
Well, as long as I'm first, you know.
You do get
fine.
the cooler seat. Is that how it works? The full name, but the first seat.
He's a much harder worker than I am, so it actually works out really well. It's like, yeah, he can sit wherever. I have children. He doesn't. He's really motivated. And I'm tired usually, so that's how it works.
So how did this? I mean, does Virgin approach you guys and say, "Hey, we've got this like really fun short project we want you guys to be a part of"?
Well, I mean, it's works in the more, even though it's like not a classic commercial. It happened like in the classic way commercials happen with commercial directors, where Virgin has a ad agency. The ad agency looks at director reels and tries to figure out who would be right for this project. They come to our executive producer and pitch the commercials, and then there was not a bait and switch, but there was definitely a change of gears in the middle of this project because it was more traditional 30-second spots.
He had actually started out with three.
Yeah, three.
It was a whole campaign.
Yeah,
It was a whole campaign.
And like the creative team and the account team at 11, which was the agency out of San Francisco, like I think that was pretty bold of them. They're like, hey, we have a different idea, and we're like, come on, really? Like we're already working here. What are you gonna? And so they's like, we want to make a film the length of a trip from Newark to San Francisco on a horrible airline, and we're like, oh, okay.
And they wanted the original idea was we want to make the most boring video on YouTube, or the
Right.
most they wanted to get people to not like it.
Wow.
And
as a matter of fact, they were actually trying to figure out if there was a way to create a dislike button,
yeah,
which would have been
I mean, it's
revolutionary for YouTube.
it's ballsy for a marketing team. I mean, Luann, the head of Virgin Marketing, I mean, she was with Google, Yahoo. I mean, she's obviously she knows her stuff. So
Yeah.
to be bold enough to do this, that's crazy.
I think it's great. I mean, especially considering like how risk adverse and daring Sir Richard Branson is. I mean, that guy is just total,
he doesn't take risks.
Take risks.
Conservative
He's
businessman.
Conservative businessman. No.
Well, it's amazing because I think a lot of times brands, people love big marketing ideas. They love like, oh wow, that sounds great. That sounds like a great idea on paper. Let's make a 5-hour and 46-minute film. And then when you actually get down to the making of it, I think a lot of brands usually they chicken out. They change, their approach, or they're like, oh, this needs to be more like a commercial, or a lot can get futzed with to take away the punch or like the crazy conceptual part of it. And Virgin they embraced it. Like when we were, and 11 was brilliant, and the team from 11, their copywriters and the art director, Ariane and Sarah and Brian and the editor who worked on it, we were all on the same page of like, let's go for it. Let's try and make nothing happen for 5 hours.
But y'all do. What's interesting though, it's not just like static random shots. You guys do have some funny, hilarious things in there.
Well, we want to take as much credit as humanly possible, but because that's just what directors do. But I mean, it's the writers and the editor. It just did so much work. I mean, I think we laid an enormous amount of groundwork and gave them more than enough stuff to work with, and had thousands of ideas, but they had tens of thousands of ideas, and they sat in the edit and huddled around microphones and just recorded crazy stuff and just invented things, and so I mean, like, they did an enormous amount of work, and they deserve easily as much credit as we do.
And
we were shooting on that horrible soundstage for 18 hours and 110 degrees. So.
Yeah, I mean, they embraced it, and yet, I mean, it's amazing for an agency to be able to work in the voice of a brand, but like they nailed it. Like, it feels like you watch it and it feels like a Virgin. It represents Virgin in a great way.
No, it represents the
Well, no, I mean,
competition.
no.
Did you not watch it?
No, I read the brief. No, but the spirit of it, like, it is like
The spirit. Good. Yeah. Just
yeah.
interesting.
No, I mean, that's not an airline. Oh, jeez, I'm thinking.
Because we'll do a Spirit commercial if you guys are watching. We'll
Would
do
it,
Yeah.
would it be similar but just cheaper?
No, we'll do anything. We will literally do anything. No, but yeah, the agency was great. They were very bold, and yeah, it's what's funny too. Just from like the process standpoint, we were involved on the back end of actually like, well, how do you make something that's 5 hours and 46 minutes, and then prepare it for the internet?
Yeah, just the compression.
The compression and the exports, and we were around for
You
through
just
a
got my
lot of
cameraman
that.
really excited, by the
Yeah.
way. He's like, oh shit, compression talk.
Yeah.
I mean, it is funny because then you go to a sound house or you go to color it and they ask you how long it is, and then you're like, wait, I'm sorry. Even if you're not changing much color, you still have to do all the renders. The time it takes to render out all those clips and the tens of thousands of actual cuts and transitions, and more than anything, that was actually something that the production company who also did post World War VII is also super proud of, because it was just such a giant task for such a ridiculous idea. And
I think honestly, like, not necessarily do we want to make another like 6-hour film, but what we as directors, I think that's sort of like our ethos is like, how fully can we commit all of our intellect and creativity and time and effort to, I'm saying it in the nicest way, the dumbest idea possible, and
Yeah.
like take that and execute that to the most.
Like, what happens if they give you like a quality idea? Like, where's the
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like,
sky's the limit?
yeah. I mean, or it's just like it's not even a quality idea. It's just like, give us. It's actually more like, I think it's really important that when like we talk a lot about working within parameters of just like how you like. It's kind of cool to have like, that's what advertising is great for. Like, there's way too many rules, and you have to like figure out the puzzle and get something decent out of all the rules that they give you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really love like the idea of like, just give us like this really impossible task, but give us all the time and give us space, and like we'll solve it. You know, I mean, not just us, like with the team and everything, we'll solve it and we'll make something really, really interesting. And that's we love the idea of just going for it with a ridiculous idea, but treating it like we're making Godfather. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like that's the fun part for us.
Is it cool then to have it? I mean, it's premiering. It's part of a festival. Is one of our main things. It was, our big opening night. There's Hal. There's the stewardess.
Yeah.
It's huge deal. It's part of our sponsors. Is it crazy to think? Okay, it's the dumbest idea ever, but look what all they're putting behind it and that impact it could have.
I mean, it feels awesome. And because, so much of what we do, is we always get excited. If you can get a laugh in a commercial, we think it's like one of the most hard-won laughs, because people hate you. People hate commercials a lot of times. And so if you can actually get past that and make someone smile or chuckle, like, we feel great. But then to actually have people recognize how absurd something is, and then
To show up to a theater.
yeah,
To watch it,
sit
or,
through and actually want to go and sit and watch something, even if you're getting a little something on the side. But it's still, it means a lot to us, and it's funny to think, we would never have thought when we were making it that anyone would, be as interested as. I mean, of course, we thought maybe this will be great, but we didn't think this would happen. It's certainly an honor.
Yeah.
So, what are you guys working on next? Like, what projects are coming out for you guys?
Stuff, so it's funny, and we can't really talk about the commercials, but a lot of ridiculous commercials. I mean, again, we're always looking for projects like this. There's more and more of this kind of advertising projects coming up that are, larger in scope and where people really want to push boundaries. But yeah, we actually do a lot of just regular commercials on TV. So,
And we're in the, this job can be pretty brutal as far as just like writing treatment after treatment after treatment, and like having a lot of like positive phone calls, and just like being like, don't worry, I know these guys, these are friends of mine, don't worry, like we got this job. And they're like, oh, I went with him. We're like, oh no, it happens, it's part of the business. And you're just like, so we're, you know, it's, I feel like, you know, it's like when us compared to like an independent filmmaker, it's kind of like the I just remember having a friend of my father's who was a Vietnam surgeon. You know, he was like a medic in Vietnam, and it's like being a doctor in war versus a doctor in like regular practice. Like we're just like constantly scrambling, and then just having it die, and scrambling and having it die, and we learn a lot really fast. And then there's like the independent filmmaker who has, granted, not a lot of, you know, maybe not a lot of the resources that we have, but they're just like, they really spend their time like crafting and honing and like caring about this thing that they loved. And like we're just like, get it in, get it out, get it in, get it out. And it's just like a very brutal yet effective way to work. And I think you know, David's comes from a much more technical background. Not that he isn't hilarious, but like I come from a writing background, and there's so much I didn't know about the business, and all of a sudden now I'm just like a hardened, like just like not a tech guy, but I just like know so much more. In like the 2 years we've been doing this, it's ridiculous. It's just getting hit on the head with it constantly.
That's the fun of commercials. You get to play in all parts of pre-production, production, post-production, and do it all over again. And
very rarely do you get to go to film festivals. So
very rarely. They don't want you to come, actually. They don't like commercial directors to even go to the films. But
well, I'm glad we heard it here first. Commercials are like Vietnam.
Well,
you said that.
I implied that, you made it into
and I
the actual
sat here
statement.
Uncomfortably, just smiling.
I think that's how we'll end it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. Sorry.